being a teenager living in the 70s in Grey Lynn and Ponsonby? What are some of the things you experienced?
Let's just say that the atmosphere back then was based around that movie Once Were Warriors.
How?
For all the parties, as the city was the limelight for back in the day, where Māoris, brown skins, would come down from the country and to get jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of restrictions back then. As growing up in Ponsonby and Grey Lynn, it was around about the time when, so being a child, was pretty rough. It was pretty hardcore. Not very good to what it's like now. I'm not saying it's good now. I'm just saying that it was probably harder for us. We were restricted in a lot of ways. The housing sucked for Māori. That's why my great-grandmother was a part of the Women's Welfare League, Nana Whanakupa, the late Nana Whanakupa.
Yeah.
In the perspective, and she worked from the community hall back in there around about that time. So she was in that perspective. This other book would be actually quite good too, because it's where a lot of it is. It was basically survival. We had to survive the physical abuse
from like family or government,
anybody.
police, anybody.
Like sexual abuse, I'm talking, mental abuse. That's why I said it's very much like Once Were Warriors. Yeah. So that's the tame side of what it was like for us. Consequences just for petty little things, shoplifting and all that, consequences were actually quite great. Then there were a lot of gangs. Females back then, very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So we formed groups from basically primary, intermediate, in the perspective of we had to awhi each other. A lot of Pacific Islanders, well, Niue and Samoan, and then Māori. So with the adults, they were getting quite close and supporting the Samoans and the Niueans in that context, because they were just once was fighting, fighting center, blah blah blah. The gangs actually, what would you say, based themselves down Ponsonby, Grey Lynn, everywhere. So if you were a female back then, we had quite a few of my mates, so around about probably 11, 12, very dangerous for us. That's why we had our male friends. Some of them were our cousins, and then some of the girls' boyfriends and things like that, who are now right up there in the pictures.
Hey.
Yeah. But not saying because of that lifestyle. I think with society, they didn't really give a shit about brown skins. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's when, as I got older, my uncle, the late Jimmy Hayward, he went to jail for something. This is what he found out what it was like for brown skins when they came out of jail, like Mount Eden and things like that. Most of them were just going in for car conversion or shitty things in the perspective, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the penalty was the time that they served in jail was longer than what they had done. So if you stole a car, you'd probably look at about a couple of years.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But if you're brown, was it longer?
Well, it was brown. brown. There was more brown skins in Ponsonby, Grey Lynn. We ran it.
Yeah.
The white, the white, they were there.
Yeah.
But a lot of them married into the brown skin, so that made us. So we would, like schools, to start with, for kura. Not very good.
Why?
Because teachers back then
Oh, yeah.
would tutu with the females.
Hey.
We would get put on detention, held back, but lucky we were on to it, because after the first incident we knew straight away. And then our boy mates, who are friends of, and I still remember them, would hang around the kura, wait for us to come out of that detention, because it was always obvious, but not to other teachers and perspectives, because they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
There was always one female kept behind. A couple of my mates, they were tutued with. And so it was like you expect to be safe at kura.
Yeah.
Okay? You expect to be safe at home, but can't, because our females, like Mum and that, were kind of like lost. Beautiful wahines. Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, they were too bloody beautiful.
Yeah. My first question.
And, but my mates did. So therefore I was already branded late. So instead of them getting a hiding, it was my fault. Yeah. So then my mum's cousin, uncle, that was about the time when you see the adults.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of midnight braids for the Pacific Islanders. Most of my mates were, shit scared, because it was intimidating. They could come in any time of the night, morning. Didn't give a shit. And we would hide some of our mates.
Hey.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a story about that? Like how you hid them?
Well, we were quite clever, and so were they. And so some of them devised what they would do is pull the floorboards up of the houses, because they were so old in Ponsonby and Grey, and they were able to. They were shit out. They were shit houses. And when word was they were there, so we were like the signals. Okay?
Yeah.
And then it was like we had a certain whistle, or we'd let them know. We'd stay up all hours of the night and morning just to make sure that they were okay. Yeah. And then we'd go to kura and, okay, what happened? Oh, yeah, no. But you can't stop it once it starts.
Yeah.
Then it got to the point where, with Uncle Jimmy Hayward, who formed at that time the Peacemakers. So when he got out of jail, out of Mount Eden, it was just a petty thing.
Yeah.
And he became a weightlifter, heavy weightlifter. So that's the photo I've got on.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's Mum's cousin. And he used to weightlift with Precious McKenzie. So he was in jail, and how that started was how he became right up there.
Yeah.
Was he was in there, and it was known back then in jail that you get tested. I mean, you're going to get stepped out, you're going to get whatever, blah, 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 unless you can fight to survive. It's like girls' home. I was put into a girls' home. That's another story. It's coming. And I went to Mount Eden.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, oh, okay, another story. And anyway, what he did was he picked up one of those manhole covers. And those quite thick and freaking heavy. That's why it's probably a weightlifter.